We're entering the final hour and a half of June 28th, and I thought it appropriate to make another video, or rather live stream if you want to call it that, which it is, so you're correct if you use that terminology. Um, I have been thinking for a very long time about recurring traits that I notice as it pertains to men and their difficulties with getting women. So this is mainly in being titled "Why Men Can't Get Dates." How I feel about men in general, and their chances and why they are the way they are. I have my own set of reasons for why I can't. Um, the biggest one that I've come across and kind of now sort of start leaning on is options. And I have to differentiate this because some people will say, "Oh, well, he's talking about he wants us to go back to the 40s and 50s when women had to marry men." No, 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 no. I'm referring to dating options, and it was probably, I don't know if it was this way back then, but I'm just going off what I see now. So to give you an example, there was a woman who I spoke with on Instagram for several months. I saw what she looked like, found her attractive. We had decent political discussions. At least I thought so anyway. This went on for a while. We eventually fell out over something else. But I remember one day I popped a question about, getting together, doing something with her. And she posted on her profile that she's had 10 men ask her out. In, I think, the several months that had passed since she made her account. And when I saw that, my mouth almost dropped because I couldn't believe it. But I kind of said, okay, well, this is just a rare occurrence because she's not going out or looking for anything. They're coming to her. These are all just I guess naturally people make attempts. So on Reddit, this person posts a a female for male or whatever, those little requests for friendship little things. And I'd done one before, and I can't even count on my hand the number of women who responded. It was zero. It was none, not a single one. But it's like that on most websites, unfortunately, when you make a request. So the bottom line is this woman posts that she wants to speak to people. Da, 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 da. I contact her. Her talk for a little bit. She mentions over the course of our communication that she had 20 guys respond. Now, when I heard her say that, I thought to myself, of that previous incident with this one on Instagram, I said, this one's got 20 guys. The one from last year had 10 guys. Between these two women, they have 30 men who are interested in them. I was astounded. But that doesn't have anything to do with their, I don't know, socioeconomic status or any other rationale for why a person would just on the basis of finances be inclined to date. So that was the principal reason that just started popping up in my head as time passed. Because think about it. If somebody tells you, let's pretend my favorite place to eat is, I don't know, Denny's. And I say my second favorite place to eat is Jack in the Box. And there's a Denny's and a Jack in the Box, and they're right next to each other. And I can say, Jack in the Box is a really good second choice, but I'm gonna go with Denny's. After all, it's my my preferred option. It's the option that is most preferable to me in this moment. You're never going to give Jack in the Box a chance unless Denny's isn't there. So maybe Denny's closes eventually or moves to another state. Then you have to use Jack in the Box, or you don't have to. Um, you could obviously go somewhere else, but the chances of you leaning on Jack in the Box, who you said earlier was your second favorite or whatever, increase because your preferred option or the one you like the most isn't available. Um, and obviously, someone will say, "Oh, that's you're comparing people to food." No, no, I'm making the analogy that if you have a number of options, no matter how good. This is what always gets me. I'll have these women say, "Oh, you're so nice. Oh, you're so," oh, duh, 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 duh," and then in that same breath say, "Oh, but I was with this person, or I'm with this person." So really think to yourself this, and I'm trying to present this to say that maybe they're not lying when they sing you praises, but that the praises don't matter not because the person dislikes you secretly or whatever. It has to do with the fact that they have the option of picking a person whom they are more favorable of than yourself. And that could be just barely, that could be by a whole lot, that could be by an inch, but they're still going to pick that person because there's no reason for them not to. Why would you pick what is of lesser quality in your view than as opposed to the person who you favor entirely or for the most part? And it always gets me because you'll see some of these people who post online, and they'll say, "Oh, my spouse or my significant other, he's so arrogant. I saw this one woman on this forum say that the guy she was with was arrogant. He was argumentative. He was this and that." And then say, "But he's also this, this, and this. Oh, and we have a child together." And I would just sit there and stare at that screen and just question myself, how in the... Hey, I always thought to myself, if you really like somebody, yes, you can acknowledge they have some qualities you don't like, but I mean, she listed several things, and I'm just sitting here, it seems the good and the bad are evenly adding up in that list she gave. Um, but I'm going to get entirely off topic. So, it really, in general, for the reason why a lot of these males don't have romantic interests, significant others, whatever you want to call it, is due to the fact that women, on average, are going to get approached more. And I even had I heard on one documentary this woman was talking about women choose not to approach because they don't want the embarrassment or they don't want to be assertive or something to that effect. And my whole argument has been, well, if the person is entirely interested in you, they're going to go after you. You look at a job that you want, you're going to go send an application, you're going to sit in there and do the interview because you want that job. And I'll have some people say, "Oh, well, you just got to be used to chase, man. Gender roles, gender roles." Well, I'm sorry, but when you're over here telling me to accept this female president and to accept women being able to work in all branches of the military, I don't know why we shouldn't accept as a society that women should also do some approaching of men that they actually want. I don't see why I have to waste my time trying over and over again with all of these different women from different countries, from different states. I don't get the appeal or why anyone would think it's a good idea for me to do that. But also, the problem I have in saying this is that you'll have some who will see this and go, "Oh, well, you're encouraging men to give up and to not try, and how can you ever put up with saying to them you might as well throw in the towel?" Well, here's the thing. In every instance where I was accepted romantically by a woman, to where they actually tried to do stuff and get this relationship running or romance production wise started, it was by women who approached me. And that didn't work out for various reasons, but the gist of my argument is there's a strange correlation in the fact that in the several instances where one said yes or indicated interest, they were always the one who approached me. That's why I'm saying, if you're not getting approached, and they're, even, I mean, if I start interacting with someone, it could be a man or a woman. I have phone numbers from guys, phone numbers from different women around here, and they'll respond for a while, or I'll reach out to them over and over again. But if they stop responding, I'm gonna stop reaching out. What's the point of me doing that? Wasting my time trying to appeal to you, while you ignore my very attempts at beginning some dialogue or communication. And what ultimately, I guess, just brings me down is knowing that society is not going to change when it comes to this relationship thing. And I'm not trying to sound negative, but this era where we have dating websites where all the women get bombarded by different guys trying to say hello to them, and all the men get ignored. And then you have these various, just what is it, the different stripper services or whatever, where they capitalize on these men who aren't in relationships and get cash off of there. That's not going to stop. And it's not going to stop because we as a society have allowed one gender to now become dominant on the basis of if we will continue. And that's really scary to me. And what I mean by that is, so obviously women aren't getting together and saying, oh, we're just going to turn down every man we see. No, no, no. It has to do with the fact that you have these men who, they're so, and I hate doing this because it makes me seem as if I'm some men's right activist or whatever, and I'm not. But I'm sorry. There are too many hoops that I've tried to jump through to appeal to the women around me. I've had to go out and look for different forms of employment all the while being in school. I've had to just apparently acquire certain possessions. That's you'll notice this when they talk about gold diggers, but whatever. I don't even believe it's that. I'm saying because our society is built in a way where men have to make it and women just kind of can pick anybody they want and get off with it. I don't think I told this story yet. About a week or two ago, there was a woman I spoke to on Skype, and she worked at a daycare center, and she said, "Oh, I want she's little kids or whatever, they're around there. Oh, I thought you were talking about your own kids." She goes, "Oh, well, I want a whole bunch of kids." I said, "How much?" She goes, "Oh, 6 to 7." I said, 6 to 7. Well, I'm sure there's some men that can, be of assistance. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna be a housewife. The second she said that, I just put my hand over my face. So you want this one person, this one guy, to take care of, counting you and these 6 to 7 kids, 8 to 9 people. He's supposed to, I don't know what job he has. Maybe if he's governor or a rapper or a ball player. How is he going to take care of all of them by himself? But this goes back to the hoop jumping that men have to do. You would never see a man say to a woman, yeah, I'm going to just be the guy who impregnates you, go out and work while I take care of the kids. You would never see that. You would never, in the history of this world, they could make a movie about that premise of a guy who tells women, I want to just impregnate you and you go to work. It would be science fiction. I feel as if this is going off topic, but it really needs to be said that you can't reasonably expect guys, or men, or males, or boys, or whatever you want to call the masculine gender or the male gender, to do all of this footwork and jump through all of these hoops and all the while have things on TV where it says that at a certain age men should have this many girlfriends and they should be dating and da 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 da. I've had people who in my own personal life try to interject their feelings of how many relationships I should be in or should have been in. Get out of here, man. But that's all due to culture and society, where we're brought up to believe we need a relationship to make us whole. And there are a lot of draws to wanting a relationship. You want someone that you can, I guess, touch, or obviously someone will make a sexual joke there, but you want a person you can relate to in a way that only the opposite sexes can. I don't see anything wrong with that, but what people need to understand is jumping all of these hoops, jumping through all of these hoops rather, is doing nothing for you, and that's kind of the crux of my argument when it comes to why it's so difficult for men to get with these various women, because I've been told it's a turnoff to only do things because you want to appeal to the woman, but a lot of times men will try doing it anyway. I know people that got jobs and tried shelling out more cash just to impress some woman. Took it to a fancy restaurant. There goes $300 he just dropped for no reason other than to try and impress this woman. And all the while, you have certain people I know who are females talking about, oh, all men want is sex and da 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 da. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna drop hundreds of dollars for an hour and a half of something I could buy for the even a cheaper price on the street. I mean, I can't stand how it's in every way. If you're a guy, when it comes to dating now, unless you're, Trump or Bush or a Rockefeller or a Kardashian, you really are just running the gauntlet when it comes to this relationship stuff. And I could sit up here and use profanity and talk, but uh, I'm kind of not interested in doing that anymore. As a result of just getting tired of it. You get sick of something so much it wears the energy out of you. I really lost the will to sit up here and just lose my mind over the dating room. I kind of resigned myself to it. And I hate telling men to do that as well, but I've noticed, and I keep trying to encourage other males to at least take notice of this as well. There are guys who are going to get women, are getting relationships. I have to be careful about my phrasing on everything because of the politically correct people watching this. And they're going to get them, but there's also going to be that portion that doesn't get them. And you have to look at it in a way to where you see yourself as more than just who you're with, because that's really what society, and I hate to say it, that's what American culture, and I guess other cultures too, wants you to be seen as: who you know, who you're familiar with, who you are around. That ultimately is going to define you. And if it's not the eyes of your immediate family, it's going to be people who are peers, co-workers. The guy who's not dating someone, oh, he's gay. The guy that just keeps to himself and doesn't really try to talk to any women at school, oh, he's plotting Columbine or Virginia Tech. There's no way of winning when it comes to this stuff other than to just get lucky, or you'll occasionally you strike a blue moon here and there, but other than that, what else can you really do? I'll tell you what you can do. You can go and try to get a suitable career that you end up being the best at, and then you'll likely, because you'll notice there's a certain level of decline in women's options as they get older. And I'm not trying to make them seem as if, actually, yeah, I'm going to have to go there. So you'll see a lot of these older guys go for younger women. But think to yourself, when those older guys were 17 or 18, you can probably bet they were trying to get with women who were 17 or 18. Now they're older and the guys don't like them as much. And, it's almost a role reversal in a way, because now the guy has the appeal. He has the cash. And even though I'm not really that big on, I personally don't agree with the practice of the, generational gap in dating. That people can do what they want. It's just not something I would ever practice. But my point is, it's the same way with Hollywood, where a lot of these actresses are younger and they get these roles, and then you got people like Tom Cruise and Harrison Ford were able to get roles up into their before the 70s. And then actresses, how many can you think of that are in their 70s that still get roles? So I'm just saying, it's as if with you have to look at it that way. And the problem with my suggestion of, oh man, yeah, go get your own position or whatever, you're not going to see. I mean, the way to characterize it is, it's a long process with any career. You know, if you go, you want to say, oh, I want to be this. Well, you have to go to college. Oh, that's 5 or 6 years of me practicing to be this. Um, and then all these women, you know, are gonna eventually come to me. It feels like false hope. I get that, and it's a long process, and you're gonna go to sleep many lonely nights, think, oh man, I should have done this, should have done that. But I mean, what I'm trying to convey to you, if this rambling has done nothing by the end of tonight, is suggest that there is more to be made from pursuing a career than pursuing a woman, and I mean that also in the way of relationships. You know, a man who is a film star, like a Harrison Ford, like a Tom Holland, if that's the name of the new Spider-Man kid, they're gonna get women coming at them, and it won't have to do with how attractive they look. I don't think either one of them is ugly. Don't worry, don't get mad. Uh, or just really anything relating to anything but their craft and their talent as an actor, which led them to be cast in that film. Really, anyone who's at the top of their game in anything can get with anyone they want. And that applies to acting, that applies to politics. That's why you keep seeing all these stories of men getting, caught in these sex scandals. You know, Clinton didn't have to do anything to anybody. They came to him when he was governor and when he was president. It's the same thing where anyone who rises in ranks in a given profession, and you don't have to be famous either. You be a top doctor. Oh yeah, and you have someone. Oh, I love me some doc. Yeah, show me where your hands have been. But then you go to a different practice, such as I don't know, a teacher, and you could be a teacher who gets the most rewards. All the students are saying you're so good. I guarantee you, there are going to be a bunch of single parents or single mothers that have these sons that you have to teach. So you're going to be in for parent teacher conferences. I'm not saying exploit your position. I am saying that gradually as time goes on, men yeah, but then the question of, does she want me for me, or does she want me? Okay, well, here's the problem. You can't have your life is a gamble. You could wake up tomorrow, you could not wake up tomorrow. You could have a day of just sitting at home, or you could have a day where people call you up. You never know what's going to occur. And obviously we have gold diggers, and that's certainly never going to go away because people are too diverse for it to just completely disappear or dwindle. But the biggest and most evident way of making sure that you don't find one is by not showing what you have. So, wear the same thing twice a week. Show up in some shoes that are dirty. Show up with, only a few dollars in your wallet or something. Do that. How would they ever know? Some random woman in the street is just going to know your whole biography. Are you kidding me? So, no, the trust issue should only amount if you go around wearing Armani suits and being outwardly fancy with, your finances. Then, yes, you'll have cause to be concerned. But other than that, exactly, yeah. So, yeah, that's really what I'm seeking to convey here. That men having trouble with women is not due to women having more rights. It's the fact that they have more options. And I just brought up the stories earlier about the one chick that got 20 guys to approach her in the course of a week. I think if 20 women approached me, no matter what they looked like, my mouth would fall to the ground. So I'd have woken up, and what was that story about the 70 virgins in heaven? That's exactly how I would feel if this hypothetical scenario ever played out, because that seems a world apart for a guy that can't even get more than maybe one a year to take notice. So it was almost unworldly to me. But that goes to show you social media has done a lot to boost some of these egos. You go on Instagram, there's some woman who has, a million or hundreds of thousand followers. It's not because she's posting things that people are finding so profound and meaningful and, terrific, or she's some, good singer like Beyonce. It's due to the fact that she has an attractive face or attractive behind or attractive, I don't know, armpit. And you'll have guys that'll flock to that and they'll all come and go, oh, you look so good, oh, you look so good. And then, she will feel very confident, become more picky as guys try to approach her and DM her. And, we'll all cancel each other out. And we'll DM, yeah. That's my point, that she's attractive, so why else would you do the same thing? Most would do the same thing. I only don't do it as much as I used to because I kind of this thing where, why do I need to boost this person's ego? I mean, if you have a room filled with 300 yes man, what is me as the 301st yes man going to do to really have any impact? It's not, we're not voting for anybody. This doesn't matter. Me keeping my opinion is based off of everyone else expressing theirs and it kind of being a known thing. Just like how people, will say Taylor Swift is attractive. I don't need to say Taylor Swift is attractive for people to think she's attractive. It's not difficult to arrive at that conclusion. You just go off of a base set of ideas. So this woman's going to think to herself, well, I'm already very attractive. Oh, I feel you. It makes you like a number. Yeah, that's my point. Oh, here's guy 57 saying I'm beautiful. Oh, here's guy 100 saying I am just, my eyes are dazzling. So yeah, what's the point of even doing that? I don't no, and I'm not trying to say if you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. The reverse. I am suggesting that you're doing yourself no favor or anyone else by giving someone an ego trip that they really don't need. If I had 5 million subscribers and they all say, oh, I love your relationship videos, they're terrific. And then one guy comes on there and says, your relationship videos suck. I'm not going to listen to that one guy. But I'm not going to thank all the 5 million people either. I'm not going to DM all of them. I'm not even going to send them a form letter where it's, some stuff that I wrote that is being sent to every person with no individuality whatsoever. I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to feel confident because, oh, look, for that one guy saying I'm crappy, here's 5 million saying I'm great. And that's really what people need to understand. You're not going to interest any of these women when they have so many guys that are already interested that they can pick from. I told I made the comparison earlier. Think about this. If you work at, I take that back. If you wanted to go to a fast food restaurant, you said my favorite fast food restaurant is something, and then you go, oh well, here's McDonald's. I might go to McDonald's, and then oh hey look, there's Burger King. Oh look, there's Jack in the Box. Oh look, there's Taco Bell. There's Pizza Hut. There's Wendy's. There's Rally's. You're not going to pick anyone that might have some problem that you overall have. So you could have the nicest personality, but if the woman finds some small fragment of a hotter guy's personality, decent or whatever, she'll pick him. For the most part. And look, I'm not trying to say, oh, if you're, this nice person or if you have a decent, you're perfect. No, I'm saying that we justify things to ourselves to get through what we want. I have had many women that I can look back now and say to myself, why did I ever, she was terrible. She was mean. Why did I approach her and go, oh yeah, because she was hot. I found her very attractive. And I said to myself, oh, well, she's smart because she answered this question right in class one time. And she might, be mean to me and she might call me, the worst person I've ever lived. But, I like her because she's nice to other people. You make it up. So yeah, so don't think appearance, and don't think that that's only men doing that. I guarantee you that when women have all those different options, they're gonna go through and measure appearance on a level higher than they want you to think. And you can say, oh well, that's not all women. I'm not saying it is all women. I'm saying that it's enough to where we have a whole bunch of guys coming on my videos and going, oh yeah, man, me too, me too, me too. So I really we're not playing that game anymore. Probably gonna have to get off here soon. It's longer than I intended. Yeah, I'm so tired of waking up every day, getting up and checking the new month out, ringing in the first of every month of the year, and seeing some guy I know talking about the woman don't love me, man, and knowing that he has approached a plurality of women. I mean, we're gonna have to get to a point now where if we really want to succeed with women, I might as well just start messaging 50 chicks a day. They're already getting 20 guys per each one. It's like playing the lottery. Imagine if every state in the U.S. had their own lottery, and you could enter it even if you weren't in the state. I entered a lottery for Utah, for Texas, for Florida. You're gonna have a higher chance of winning for each one you enter. But the pyramid scheme is that you're also going to be shelling out more cash, and you might not earn back. It's just like this dating thing. You approach more, you're more likely to get somebody, right? Well, yeah, but you're also going to be wasting more time approaching chicks than doing something that you actually found appealing. Bounce from yeah, I think it had to do with bad judgment, bad that reminds me, I was in 8th grade, and this woman, it wasn't a woman, she was a girl, but I don't I'm I don't know why you would be. I'm just giving general commentary and attempting to not sound to be some raging men's right activist and anti-feminist or whatever, because that's all the rhetoric they're going to use. Oh, and then the media portrayals, going back to that because I didn't really go into it that much. I'm a guy who grew up watching shows like Degrassi, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, some other ones. Just, shows where it had someone in high school. And every time it had someone in high school, yeah, okay, well, everybody's gone through this at again, I told you, unless you're Rockefeller or Trump or any other dynasty of wealthy men, you are likely to have encountered this at some point. I feel like if Sinatra ever gets his story told again, it'll be with him struggling to get women, and then you see him at the end of his life, and all the women, ones that are young enough to be his granddaughters, talking about how hot he is. But that is what that is. So I was saying, in media, you see these portrayals of relationships, and understand they're not being done there to show, oh look, he's happy with her and they genuinely care about each other. They're being shown to promote this idea that men need to be, along with women, in relationships to appear normal. And I know you'll say, oh, they only include that in there because people, usually do that and it's relatable. Well, look at my comment section. Look at all those men who were saying they couldn't get relationships. Then come back and tell me it's normal for some men and most women, yeah. But you don't get that many people saying, I'm joining the club, I'm on the boat, I'm coming to the single man mansion. It's that stuff originates from if we were to just all take, I have 6 years of rejection stories I could just share right now. If I were to take that 6 and put that with however many, some of those guys, and they were in their 20s and 30s. If I were to take that and put it in there with them, we'd probably have 100 years of getting turned down by various women across the the hemisphere. You know, we're not even just talking about the U.S. We're going overseas. We're talking about the one lady in, I don't know, Italy, or the one in Germany, or one in Japan. You know, I have so many different encounters on just this worldwide web to display and share. Um, but you know, it's because most of those aren't impactful. I don't really bring them up. It's usually a hello, I find you attractive. Oh, really? And then yeah, and then oh, they're offline or they don't respond again. I already made the video about the one that was talking about, oh, I'll be free tomorrow. You can call me tomorrow. We'll be free. And I contacted her 3 times that day, in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, and nothing, except her response saying, "Oh, I'm busy doing this. I'm busy doing that." So why don't you just go find the cure for cancer then? Can you just be serious about wanting to talk? I don't like being strung along by male or female. And that's part of the reason why I don't really try to have as many relationships as, you know, platonic or romantic as I did in the past, because for the most part, if it didn't just stop, it brought me strife. And I don't want any more of that, and that's what I'm trying to get males to not put themselves through.